Imagine being the most beloved player at your club, wearing the captain's armband, leading your team to glory only to become the most hated man in the city overnight. What would make a player betray his club, his teammates, and millions of devoted fans? Was it greed, ambition, or something even more sinister? The story of Luis Figo's move from Barcelona to Real Madrid isn't just a simple transfer, it's a tale of deception, political power plays, and one of the most intense betrayals in football history. But was Figo truly the villain, or was he a pawn in a much bigger game? The game of football is a sport that is rife with rivalries, emotion, and commitment. Nevertheless, there are instances when that loyalty is broken in ways that cause shockwaves to spread throughout the sport. Among all the controversial transactions that have occurred in the history of football, the treachery that occurred when Luis Figo transferred from Barcelona to Real Madrid in the year 2000 is hard to compare to any other. This was not merely a player switching teams. Rather, it was a political act that was carefully organized and ultimately altered the landscape of football for future generations. A rivalry that is unlike any other. It is necessary to have an understanding of the intense hostility that exists between FC Barcelona and Real Madrid in order to comprehend the magnitude of this betrayal. In addition to being a rivalry between football teams, this is also a political, cultural, and historical conflict. Although it is believed unfathomable, Luis Figo was able to make the transition from Barcelona to Real Madrid. This is a feat that should not be considered possible. During the turn of the century, football took on a totally different appearance. When the year 1999 rolled around, Manchester United had just finished off their historic treble, Lazio had just won the Serie A championship, and Lionel Messi was still a toddler and had not yet seen La Masia. Real Madrid was establishing themselves as the supreme force in European football after they had just won 2 Champions League titles in a span of 3 years. During this time, Barcelona was experiencing financial difficulties and was having trouble paying its best players. Real Madrid was in the process of electing a new president at the time, and a guy named Florentino Pérez had a plan that would shake the football world to its very foundations. This was all taking place at the same time. Florentino Pérez and the dream of the Galactico family. Prior to his metamorphosis into the all-powerful figure he is today, Pérez was a driven businessman with the objective of acquiring control of Real Madrid. Lorenzo Sanz, the man who had just won 2 Champions League titles, was his opponent in the presidential election that took place in the year 2000. It appeared to be impossible for Pérez to defeat an incumbent who had achieved that level of success. Therefore, he needed a strategy that would completely change the game. A daring pledge was made by him. If he were to be elected, he would sign Luis Figo, the best player Barcelona has ever had. At the time, Figo was the captain of Barcelona and the player who was most cherished by the club's fans. He was in the midst of a season that was worthy of the Ballon d'Or, had won many league crowns, and had emerged victorious in the UEFA Super Cup. Supporters of Barcelona adored him. He served as their commander and were their talisman. The very idea of him departing was already excruciating enough to cause anguish. So what about Real Madrid? It is inconceivable. The manner in which the transaction was arranged. Pérez did not just approach Figo with an offer. Rather, he engaged in a deception game that was of the highest caliber. First, he dispatched Paulo Futre, a fellow Portuguese footballer, to convince José Veiga, Figo's agent, to reconsider his position. In the beginning, Figo's team was opposed to the initiative. Due to the fact that Pérez required Figo's name as a form of leverage for his campaign, he decided to take an extreme risk. It is alleged that Pérez provided Figo's agent with a confidential pre-contract in addition to a sum of money, which is estimated to be approximately £1.7 million, $2 million. It was a straightforward agreement. If Pérez were to lose the election, Figo would be able to keep the money, and nothing would take place. However, in the event that Pérez were to emerge victorious, Figo would be contractually compelled to join Madrid. Alternatively, he or his agent would be required to repay an enormous sum of money equal to $34 million. Figo's hands were tied as a result of the action that took place. The situation quickly became out of hand the moment that Pérez was chosen to the position. Both Figo and his agent came to the realization that they had committed a grave error. Someone, either Figo himself or his agent, would be required to pay millions of dollars if he refused to relocate. Not even that was a possibility. It was Figo's attempt to travel backwards. Joan Gaspart, the new president of Barcelona, asserted that Figo implored him for assistance, stating that his agent had signed the agreement without his full authorization. It was, however, too late. He was legally obligated to Real Madrid, according to Pérez. The fallout. Barcelona's fury. Fans of Barcelona were devastated at the news. A betrayal of the utmost brutality had been committed against them by their captain, who was their idol. Not only was it about leaving, but it was also about departing for their most formidable adversary. In Catalonia, Figo became the most reviled figure in the region. The supporters of Barcelona set fire to his jerseys, tore down his posters, and screamed remarks that were quite offensive. Having said that, that was only the beginning. Figo made his first appearance at Camp Nou as a Real Madrid player on November 23, 2002. This was his first time back at the stadium. What transpired after that was one of the most antagonistic environments in the history of sports. The Galactico experiment is about to begin. Figo went on to accomplish a great deal of success at Real Madrid, despite the hatred that he received. La Liga, a Champions League, and the Ballon d'Or in 2001 were all titles that he won. Zinedine Zidane, Ronaldo Nazario, and David Beckham were among the superstars that Madrid would go on to acquire after his signing, which also marked the beginning of the era known as Galactico, under the leadership of Pérez. But did it really pay off? Figo has a convoluted response to this question. However, his reputation was irreparably damaged despite the fact that he won glory. He was never forgiven by the fans of Barcelona. Even after all these years, he continues to be a symbol of betrayal. It does not matter how many trophies he won. The moment he became the most public enemy in Catalonia will forever be a part of his legacy. A comparison of the betrayal to other moves in the sports universe. There are instances of betrayal in every sport. In the world of sports, the departure of LeBron James from Cleveland to Miami in 2010 was met with the same level of outrage. Fans set fire to his jerseys, yelled profanities at his name, and even referred to it as Cleveland's 9/11. Although it never reached the same degree of hostility as the previous transfer, Kevin Durant's move to the Warriors in 2016 was another transfer that became very controversial. The crowd jeered Durant when he returned to Oklahoma City, but it was not quite as hostile as the mob jeered Figo when he returned to the Camp Nou. So, was it really worth it? But that is dependent on who you ask. If you love football stories filled with drama, betrayal, and unbelievable twists, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you won't want to miss what's coming next.